To love means to sacrifice your energy without expecting anything in return, for the sole purpose of benefiting the recipient. Love is not transactional. If that upsets you to hear that love is where you give something and you're not expecting anything in return, I want to ask you something. If I give you a gift, or if anyone gives you a gift, a really special gift, is it really a gift if they immediately demand or expect something in return, even if it is down the track? If so, then it wasn't really a gift, right? The only way something is a gift is if it's given freely, without strings attached. And why do I say this? Well, maybe you are someone who is either stuck in some type of situationship or really ongoing dating scene, or you're in a sort of a relationship scenario where it's just unfulfilling, it's unclear about how things are going to be looking down the track, and you're kind of building up this resentment towards the other party, and you're thinking, why don't they love me? In our last episode, we discussed that nobody is actually obligated to love another person. That includes you. You're not obligated to go giving gifts, right? And gifts don't have to just be this tangible thing. Gifts can also be your attention. Gifts can be your love. How you give that love is important, and how that love is interpreted is also important, because if that person doesn't value your love, then you're kind of throwing pearls at swine. And this doesn't mean that the person who does not want your love is swine. It just means that maybe you're going about giving your love in the wrong direction. Or maybe you don't really feel like that you are loving that person anymore, and you're just upset that they don't really love you anymore, right? And they're paying more attention to other people, maybe other romantic interests of theirs. What do? You feel rejected, right? What do you do when love cannot be transacted? If love can only be given at the discretion of the giver, and that love means to sacrifice their energy for nothing in return. How do you receive that? If you would like to learn more about the mechanics behind love, I would recommend reading this book called The Value of Others, written by Orion Taraban. He is a YouTuber, you could say, but this book is excellent, and this is where I got some of my knowledge on love and how it kind of functionally works, right? The mechanics behind love. And you could say in this book, love is more of a mental illness than anything, actually. You may have seen more higher up professionals on the internet say that love wasn't really a factor when getting into relationships back in the past. It was more about the sheep and the cattle, and it was more about convenience and the growth of the children, etc. But I dare say love was actually a major contributing factor for relationships back then anyway. A major example would be Jacob in the book of Genesis. And you know what? Love, quite frankly, is a big deal in the Bible. But I digress. How do you receive the love that you want? Because that's probably what you're looking for. You're looking for a relationship, or some type of security, some type of guarantee that you will be loved and you'll be able to freely express your love, right? Real love, even just as a gift, means putting up with the hard thing. And this doesn't mean to tolerate bad behavior necessarily. It doesn't mean to beat yourself up and throw yourself under the bus. But real love can actually mean to go the hard route and not the convenient route, if this makes sense. So let's say you've gone through a breakup, which is probably a more easy example for me to examine. Now, if you wanted to return to that partner, for example, you would need to go through the hard route of building yourself up. You would actually have to give yourself love first. When the airplane is crashing in the sky, like it's falling down, and those oxygen masks fall down, you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first before you go helping someone else next to you. Because you cannot go helping someone else if you don't have your own shit together first. And your own shit is your emotional stability. How well do you function cognitively under scrutiny, under adversity? Some people might call this a test. And, our first response probably is that we just hate this. We're complaining and wondering, why did our ex leave us? But if we examine ourselves maybe closer, we might be able to learn that maybe they had a good reason as to why they decided to leave us. And if we were to be more empathetic, which is another form of love, by the way, we would come to understand why they left us. And it probably wasn't for some other guy, right? It's not because they have malicious intentions. Definitely not. Because if you were to believe that, it would indicate that you are subjecting yourself to the fundamental attribution error. otherwise known as FAE bias. This is a very subtle, almost invisible way of seeing the world. It's like a lens, and you start to blame things, right? You blame your ex-partner for hurting you. You blame them for getting rid of you, for not treating you the way that you deserve, right? FAE bias works like this. If you're driving down the road like a normal person and someone speeds past you and cuts you off, your first initial instinct is to probably get angry, to want to be furious, to judge that person, right? Now, instead of doing that, we need to stop the fundamental attribution error and be more empathetic, right? And actually come to understand where that other person may be coming from. Maybe on their end it was an emergency. We don't know for sure. We are actually missing details. And how do we know this, right? Well, because if we switch the roles, if you were the one speeding and cutting off another person, are you the asshole? You would probably say to yourself, no, I had some type of justification for my behavior, right? And this is the same with your ex-partner, or even your romantic interest who's not showing you as much interest. Whatever the case, they have a good reason for what they do, and it's so crucial that you come to understand what this reason is. Because if you fail to understand what this reason is, you are living in a realm of ignorance. Ignorance is a victim mindset. Oh, I don't know what to do. If you say, I don't understand, you're already on the path to destruction. You not understanding is what's causing your problems in the first place. This is what I'm pointing out. The problem starts with you. If we hold ourselves accountable and we look at the source of the problem being us, then we can try to figure out why the other party isn't loving us the way that we deserve by looking at us, right? Instead of talking about them, instead of thinking what they said, instead of obsessing over what they're doing, bring your attention back to yourself. Are you loving yourself? If you loved yourself, you wouldn't put up with intolerable behavior. You wouldn't enable cycles that are destructive. If you loved yourself, you would actually choose the hard route instead of the convenient route. If you loved yourself right, now this is the thing about love, right? Love flourishes under the hardest moments. How can you benefit the other party if you don't even benefit yourself? Because what happens if you keep on giving your love, or you want to receive love, but you're just this empty pit, right? This void within you, just can't seem to wrap your head around this. If you pile onto the table more adversity, if you pile onto the table more hardship, if you pile onto the table more misery, instead of mitigating all that, are you really loving yourself? And are you actually loving the other person? How can the other person love you if you bring so much adversity to the table? How can they love you if you blame them for your emotional suffering? How can they love you if you judge them for the tiniest little things that they do? So in order to get things on track, right, look in the mirror, right? If you want to love the other party and you want the other party to love you, you need to love yourself. Because how can they give you love and how can you love them if you don't even love yourself? If you put landmines on the road to love and you don't disarm those.